Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. This is Monday, January 27th, 2026, and we are tracking a major winter storm that is absolutely hammering Scotland right now, while simultaneously bearing down on northern England with what the Met Office is calling a significant snow event with widespread disruption expected. We're looking at amber weather warnings that have been issued across much of Scotland, with yellow warnings extending deep into northern England. And I need to tell you right up front, this is not your typical winter weather situation. We are dealing with snowfall accumulations that could reach 8 inches or more in the hardest hit areas, wind gusts that are going to create blizzard conditions in exposed locations, and a transportation network that is already showing signs of serious strain as this system continues to intensify throughout the day. Let me ground you in exactly what's happening right now across Scotland, because the conditions up there are frankly brutal at this moment. The Met Office has issued amber warnings covering the Central Belt, stretching from Glasgow across to Edinburgh, extending north into the Highlands and down through the Borders region. What that amber classification means, and this is critical to understand, is that we're not just looking at travel disruption, we're looking at potential danger to life, property damage from the weight of snow accumulation, and the very real possibility of communities becoming cut off due to impassable roads. The latest observations from weather stations across the region are showing active heavy snowfall, with rates exceeding 1 inch per hour in some locations, visibility dropping below 100 metres in the heaviest bands, and winds sustained at 30 to 40 miles per hour, with gusts reaching 50 to 60 miles per hour, particularly across higher elevations and coastal areas. Now let's talk specific numbers, because this is where the severity really comes into focus. Across the central lowlands, we're talking Glasgow, Edinburgh, Stirling, and surrounding communities. The forecast models are converging on snowfall totals between 4 and 8 inches by this evening, with the higher end of that range most likely across areas of higher terrain, even within the urban corridor. As we move into the Highlands and the more mountainous regions of Scotland, we're looking at significantly higher totals, with some locations above 400 metres elevation, potentially seeing 12 to 16 inches of snow accumulation. And those aren't theoretical numbers. We're already seeing reports of 6 to 8 inches that have fallen since the system moved in during the early morning hours. The Scottish Environment Protection Agency has issued multiple flood alerts as well, because this system is bringing not just snow, but also sleet and freezing rain along coastal sections where temperatures are hovering right around that critical freezing mark, creating absolute chaos for any kind of surface travel. Transportation across Scotland has essentially ground to a halt in many areas, and I want to be very specific about what that means for anyone trying to navigate this region today. Network Rail Scotland has suspended multiple rail services, including major routes between Glasgow and Edinburgh. Services north to Inverness have been cancelled, and the Highland Main Line is experiencing severe delays, with some trains stuck between stations due to snow accumulation on the tracks. ScotRail is advising passengers not to travel unless absolutely essential. And that guidance is not precautionary. It reflects the genuine inability of the rail network to operate safely under these conditions right now. On the roadways, Traffic Scotland is reporting that the M8, which is the primary motorway connecting Scotland's 2 largest cities, is experiencing severe disruption, with multiple accidents reported, vehicles abandoned in snowdrifts, and journey times that are running 3 to 4 times normal duration for those who are attempting travel. The M74 corridor heading south toward England has sections that are described as impassable, with the A74M seeing multiple closures, and the A9 through the Highlands, which is always vulnerable during winter weather, has been closed in multiple sections with no estimated reopening time. Edinburgh Airport has cancelled approximately 60% of scheduled flights today, with more cancellations expected as the storm continues. Glasgow Airport is in a similar situation, with de-icing operations struggling to keep pace with the rate of snow accumulation and wind conditions that are making aircraft operations dangerous even when runways can be cleared. If you have travel plans that involve flying into or out of Scotland today or tomorrow, you need to check your flight status repeatedly and have backup plans in place, because this situation is fluid and deteriorating in some areas rather than improving. Now, shifting our focus south into northern England, because this is where the next phase of this event is going to play out over the next 12 to 18 hours. The Met Office has issued yellow snow warnings covering a massive area that includes Cumbria, Northumberland, Durham, Tyne and Wear, North Yorkshire, and extending as far south as parts of Lancashire and the Yorkshire Dales. That yellow classification indicates that travel delays are likely. Some rural communities may become cut off if roads become impassable, and there's potential for power outages due to snow accumulation on power lines combined with those strong winds that are accompanying this system. The forecast for northern England is calling for widespread snowfall totals of 2 to 4 inches across lower elevations, but here's where it gets more serious. Across the Pennines, the Lake District, and higher terrain areas, we're looking at 6 to 8 inches of accumulation potentially, reaching 10 inches in the most exposed upland locations. The timeline for northern England is critical to understand if you're in this region trying to make decisions about travel or daily activities. The heaviest snowfall is expected to move into Cumbria and Northumberland during the late morning to early afternoon hours, with the band of heaviest precipitation then progressing south and east through the afternoon and into the evening. Newcastle, Durham, and the urban areas of Tyne and Wear should expect snow to begin intensifying around midday, with the heaviest rates occurring through mid to late afternoon. Leeds, Bradford, and the West Yorkshire urban corridor are looking at snow arrival in the mid to late afternoon, continuing through the evening commute period. Manchester and areas of Greater Manchester on the eastern side of the region could see snow beginning late afternoon to early evening, though areas closer to the Pennines will see earlier onset and heavier accumulation. Let's talk about what this means practically for transportation networks across northern England, because we're already seeing precautionary measures being implemented. Northern Rail has announced service reductions across multiple routes, with particular concern about services through the Pennine corridor and routes serving rural Northumberland and Cumbria. TransPennine Express is advising passengers to check journey details before travelling and warning of likely delays and cancellations. National Highways, which manages England's motorways and major A roads, has issued severe weather alerts for the M6 through Cumbria, the A1M through Northumberland and Durham, the M62 Trans-Pennine route, and multiple A roads through the Lake District and Yorkshire Dales. They've got gritting operations running continuously, but with snowfall rates that could reach 1 inch per hour during the heaviest bursts combined with temperatures in the mid to upper 20s Fahrenheit. We're talking -2 to -4 Celsius. That's creating conditions where snow accumulates faster than treatment operations can manage it effectively. The wind component of this storm cannot be overlooked because it's the combination of heavy snow plus strong winds that creates true blizzard conditions and makes travel not just difficult but genuinely dangerous. Across northern England, winds are forecast to be sustained at 25 to 35 miles per hour, with gusts reaching 45 to 55 miles per hour, particularly across higher elevations and open moorland areas. What that does is create significant blowing and drifting snow. You might have 4 inches of snowfall, but drifts can build to 2 or 3 feet in exposed locations, across open fields, and in areas where terrain funnels the wind. This is particularly problematic for rural roads across Northumberland, Cumbria, and the North Yorkshire moors, where single-track roads and country lanes can become completely impassable not from the snowfall alone, but from drifts that form rapidly during peak wind conditions. Now I want to address the forecast evolution beyond today, because this is not a quick-hitting system that moves through in a few hours and clears out. The Met Office is indicating that snow will continue across northern England through this evening, gradually diminishing overnight into Tuesday morning, but with additional light to moderate snow possible through Tuesday across northern counties. The bigger concern for Tuesday is what happens behind this system, because we're looking at very cold air settling in across the entire region with overnight low temperatures dropping into the mid to upper teens Fahrenheit across Scotland and northern England. That's -8 to -10 Celsius in some locations. What that means is that any snow that falls today is going to be on the ground for a while. Any melting and refreezing creates ice hazards, and we're looking at a multi-day impact situation rather than a 24-hour disruption. For those of you in Scotland who are dealing with this storm right now, your safety priorities need to be very clear. If you are currently at home, Stay there unless travel is absolutely essential for emergency purposes. The advice from Police Scotland and the Scottish Government is unambiguous. Avoid travel where possible, because even main roads are experiencing conditions where vehicles are getting stuck. Emergency services are struggling to respond to incidents, and the risk of becoming stranded is very real. If you must travel, ensure your vehicle is prepared with full fuel tank, emergency supplies including warm clothing, blankets, food and water, a fully charged mobile phone, and let someone know your route and expected arrival time. Check Traffic Scotland's website and social media before attempting any journey, because road closures are changing rapidly as conditions evolve. For Northern England residents who are preparing for this system to impact your area, now is the time to finalise preparations before conditions deteriorate. That means charging all electronic devices, ensuring you have adequate food and medication for at least 48 to 72 hours in case you cannot get out or deliveries cannot reach you. Bringing in any outdoor equipment that could be buried or damaged by snow, and checking on vulnerable neighbours who might need assistance. If you have travel plans for this afternoon or evening, seriously consider postponing them. This is not worth the risk. The evening commute across urban areas of Northern England is going to be severely impacted, with snow falling at its heaviest rate exactly during peak traffic times, and we're going to see accidents, vehicles getting stuck, and what should be 30-minute commutes taking 3 hours if you can complete them at all. The broader context here is worth noting, because while Scotland and Northern England see winter weather every year, the intensity and extent of this particular system are notable for this stage of the winter season. We're seeing this storm develop due to a deep area of low pressure moving across the North Sea, pulling very cold air down from the Arctic while simultaneously drawing moisture up from the Atlantic, and that combination is what's creating such significant snowfall totals. The atmospheric setup is reminiscent of some of the more significant winter storms the region has seen in recent years, and the Met Office has indicated that this is the most significant snow event for Scotland and Northern England so far this winter season. The accumulations we're seeing and expecting are definitely on the higher end of what these regions typically experience, though certainly not unprecedented, but that doesn't make them any less disruptive or dangerous when they occur. Looking at the extended forecast picture, and this is important for planning purposes beyond the next 24 to 48 hours, the cold pattern that is driving this snow event is expected to persist through at least the end of this week. What that means is that even after the snow tapers off, we're looking at multiple nights, with temperatures well below freezing, limited daytime melting, and the potential for additional snow showers, particularly across Scotland and the far north of England. The Met Office extended outlook suggests that this cold snap could last into early February, so this is not a situation where we get one snow event, things warm up and melt, and we're back to normal. We're potentially looking at a sustained period of winter weather that will require continued vigilance and preparation, particularly for vulnerable populations and rural communities, where access can become problematic during extended cold snaps. For schools across the affected regions, we're already seeing announcements of closures, and I expect that list to grow considerably as conditions worsen. Most Scottish local authorities have announced closures across large areas of the Central Belt and Highlands, and councils across Northern England are making decisions throughout the morning as they assess local conditions and forecast trends. Parents should check their local authority websites and social media channels for the most current information, because these decisions are being made on a rolling basis as the situation develops. For businesses, particularly those that require employees to travel or that serve the travelling public, this is a day to seriously consider operational modifications, allowing remote work where possible, and not expecting staff to risk dangerous travel conditions to report to work. The impact on utilities is something we need to monitor closely over the next 24 to 48 hours. Scottish Power and other energy providers have mobilised additional crews in preparation for power outages, which can occur when heavy wet snow accumulates on power lines and tree branches, particularly when combined with strong winds. We've not seen widespread outages yet, but the potential is there, especially in rural areas where distribution networks are more vulnerable. If you do lose power, remember that reporting it to your provider helps them identify affected areas and prioritise restoration efforts, and never approach downed power lines. Always assume they are energised and dangerous. I want to emphasise the communication aspect of getting through severe weather events like this, because staying informed is critical to staying safe. The Met Office is updating warnings and forecasts throughout the day as new data comes in and model runs refine the predictions. Traffic Scotland, National Highways, and local traffic information services are providing real-time updates on road conditions and closures. Rail operators are updating service information continuously. Following these official sources on social media or checking their websites frequently is not being paranoid, it's being appropriately cautious and informed. This situation is evolving hour by hour, and decisions that might have been reasonable this morning could become dangerous by this afternoon as conditions deteriorate. What we're experiencing right now is a reminder that winter weather in Scotland and northern England is not just an inconvenience, but can be genuinely hazardous, and respecting these conditions is essential. The amber warnings in Scotland are not issued lightly. They represent a judgment by professional meteorologists that conditions pose a risk to life and property, and taking them seriously is not overreacting. The yellow warnings across northern England similarly indicate conditions that will cause significant disruption and create hazards for those who must be out in them. This is a day to prioritise safety over convenience, to accept that plans may need to change, and to recognise that sometimes the best decision is to stay put rather than trying to push through dangerous conditions. As we move through today and into tonight, I'll be providing updates as conditions evolve and new information becomes available. This is a situation that requires ongoing monitoring because forecast details can shift, warnings can be upgraded or extended, and the impact on transportation and daily life will continue to unfold. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel and have notifications turned on so you get those updates as soon as they're posted. Because in situations like this, having current information can make a real difference in the decisions you make about travel, safety, and daily activities. Check on your neighbours, particularly those who are elderly or vulnerable, because community support matters during severe weather events. Stay safe, stay informed, and prioritise getting through this storm safely over meeting schedules or keeping appointments that can be rescheduled. This is weather that demands respect and caution, and I'll be here tracking every development to keep you informed throughout this event.